in 1967, Roland Barthes wrote La mort de l'auteur, the death of the author, an essay proclaiming that the opinions of an author on what his text may mean are irrelevant to the interpretation of said text. In 2020, Julian and Magnus Dorra decided that the author's abilities are just as irrelevant. This is Kill the Author.
Hello everyone.
Hello everyone.
Hello everyone.
Hello everyone.
Hello everyone.
Hello everybody.
To a new episode
of Kill the Author.
I wanted to do the intro this time.
Okay, do it.
I want all the glory.
Come on.
Hello, author. This is where we kill him.
This is why I don't let you do the intro. Okay, we're gonna kill the author now for the 5th time, I think.
Welcome to episode 5.
So it's been, this episode is probably gonna be like a day late for all the attentive listeners out there who desperately write us every time asking where's the new episode.
Who are yearning to listen to this.
Yeah, who are the large fan base, because there is a surprising number of School Days fans out there.
Yes. We're like the opposite of them.
Or maybe we're not.
We are the counterculture.
maybe we're not the opposite of them, actually, because I kind of get more and more of an appreciation for it the more I watch it.
I thought earlier, if we're done with this and we're gonna rewatch the thing at a bad movie night, I would thoroughly enjoy it more than I ever have.
Yeah, I would enjoy it a lot more because, like, what this episode, like this entire episode, not just we're talking about the second half of episode 3 now, and what not just the second half but both halves together have really shown me is there are people working on this show who are thinking through things. The thing is, this might be, after rewatching it and putting all the notes down for it, this might actually be my favorite episode of the show right now.
Interesting. Episode
3. Because, like, I had very specific opinions on this episode after watching the first half and making notes for it. We did our last episodes and all of that. But after this half, I had, like, completely opposite thoughts on the episode, which is kind of interesting. Because, like, just to give a quick recap, what we discovered last time, what we talked about, was my take on the last episode was, if Sekai wasn't there, everything would have gone all right. Everything, all the issues in the episode were kind of caused by Sekai. And what the second half of the episode is doing for me, because, like, a core element of the second half of the episode is Sekai is barely there. Sekai isn't really involved in the relationship during the second half of the episode.
This is a new episode, really.
Yeah, it's kind of like the opposite to the previous episode, where Sekai's meddling felt really hard. In this half of the episode, we get how the relationship works if Sekai isn't there. And it kind of shows that I was full of shit last time, because it does not work. But it doesn't work in really interesting ways.
I see what you mean already.
Yeah,
I didn't even think of that, but it makes sense.
Yeah, let's get into that. What happens in this half of the episode? So we ended it last time on Kotonoha and Makoto meeting on the roof. After Makoto wanted to apologize to her, after Sekai told him to, and Kotonoha decided, okay, I'm gonna see him, after she had avoided him all morning.
We jump to the schoolyard, where we have a Sekai scene, where we're not gonna see a lot of Sekai in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
And she's hanging out there alongside a bunch of other characters, most of which we've already met. There's Setsuna, and there's Hikari, and there's Nanami, who is new.
Ah, right, Boy,
the one we named Boy.
Yeah, Hikari just has sort of a boyish haircut. I think that's the main reason we did that.
We had nicknames for them when we first watched the thing.
Yeah, we had nicknames for them based on their hair, because that's the core defining characteristic of their character designs. Otherwise, they look all the same, basically. Setsuna has red eyes. That's different.
Yeah, right.
So we jump into this meeting between the girls. And they start talking about basically about Sekai, mainly.
They're talking about Makoto and Sekai, which means that there's yet another scene to fail the Bechdel test.
Yeah, yeah, right. They're talking about Makoto again. They're talking about something else too a bit later, but yeah.
So the very first thing that happens is that Hikari accuses Makoto of being bad. Because apparently he's the reason why Sekai isn't really meeting up with him anymore.
Yeah, she also talks about the whole thing that was discovered previously in the episode where Hikari watched them on the train station. And yeah, that's why she thinks, oh, your boyfriend is betraying you or whatever. And also the conversation is brought up again that we've had before about, is he your boyfriend? Is he not your boyfriend? Yeah.
That's really what Setsuna and Nanami... No, not Setsuna.
Setsuna barely talks in this scene.
That's really what Hikari and Nanami talk about in this scene. They, again, rightfully accuse Sekai of having feelings for Makoto. Like, you hang out all the time constantly. Are you seriously not in a relationship or what?
Yeah. Also, like, at first, Hikari seems to think that Makoto is coming on to her, while she was the one who kind of started it with him by sitting down next to him when there was a chair change, I think, in their classes.
They accuse Makoto of just using the chair seats to sit next to Sekai so that he could get to her.
There's also a small theme brought up here that's going to be relevant later on in the episode, where one of the arguments for why the two of them must be together is that they use first names with each other. Like, Sekai calls him Makoto. She calls him by his first name instead of his last name, which in Japan, it's usually common that you talk about class people if you're not very close to them with their last names.
So the conversation drifts off and they start talking about the school festival again. It is brought up there that apparently maybe it's some kind of idea that whoever hangs out at the school festival together...
Yeah, a prophecy is uttered. Whoever hangs out at the school festival will be together after that.
Yet another urban myth, I guess.
Just another rule of the world. And the thing is, okay, this is going to be relevant because I don't know if I've mentioned it last episode or just talked about it with you personally, but I've looked up stuff on the internet about the game and about the endings.
You mentioned that.
Yeah, and about a few things that like cause the way the ending develops. And the school festival plays a huge part in that. Like who you choose at the school festival and how you act at the school festival in the game determines a huge amount of the outcome of the game.
So there might be some truth to this.
There might be some truth to this, and it also might be another like meta commentary on graphic novels. Not graphic novels, visual novels. Because visual novels usually have this. Like, it's a stereotype, not just of anime, but of visual novel. The big school festival where they're all, I don't know, meeting up in kimonos, and whoever dates whom is super important to them. It's the prom. It's basically the Japanese version of prom. The big festival thingy.
Prom night.
Yeah, it's prom night. Whoever you hang out with prom night is, like, super important.
There's another interesting thing that I noticed about this conversation they're having. When they mention that apparently whoever hangs out together at the school festival will become a couple forever, we see a shot of Hikari responding by saying, really? Immediately followed by someone off screen saying, the school festival. We don't see who says it, but
really?
I assume it's Sekai. That Sekai, after hearing this, she thinks about something. And I assume that either she has some kinds of plans about the school festival involving Makoto and Kotonoha, or involving Makoto and herself.
Okay.
This is brought back at the end of the scene when Sekai is just kind of sitting there staring to the distance thinking. She doesn't say anything else in the scene. And in the background we have, as per the usual, Setsuna staring at her.
Yeah.
And this is brought back in the chorus in the rest of the episode.
I didn't get that connection at that point. That, like, this was supposed to signify, okay, she's fantasizing about what she might do at the school festival now. That's interesting.
That's how I understood this.
Yeah, that makes sense. I didn't see that. And then at a later point in the episode, it is brought up again, yeah.
Setsuna is also mentioned to be the president I'm not sure what exactly they mean.
I think of the school council or something like that.
I think either the committee that organizes this, the committee that organizes this. Maybe she's the school's president. I don't know.
Committee probably makes more sense.
Maybe she's Japan's president.
Maybe she is the president of Japan. Maybe she's trying to fix the birth rate. Maybe that's a big thing with the Japanese president, that there's way too low births. And okay, it doesn't matter.
This is something for the political podcast.
Strange political memes. We're talking about that another day. So one other thing that is brought up in this conversation is that every class at the school festival does like something. Like there's something you have to prepare, either a cafe or a haunted house or whatever.
Cafe and haunted house, which made me question, haunted house? This is the school festival, we're doing haunted house.
Haunted house can't be that difficult. Like, you just put up a few walls so people walk through, and then you dress up as something scary. I remember in our school festivals, like, having a small restaurant or having, like, something akin to a haunted house were the most popular options. Because those are both pretty easy to do and kind of fun.
Yeah, your school actually did things.
Yeah, our school did things. We had
did cool things.
We had weird themed events. Like, we had one all around countries where every class was assigned a country and we were supposed to like symbolize them or something like that, represent them.
Didn't you even do a thing where you invented a fake currency and you built an economy?
Yeah. We had one.
You built a state.
We had one where we built a country and we had to choose who our mayor was how our president was gonna be in advance, which was of course like a popular person at our school, but also because we were a nerd school, it was actually someone who knew stuff about politics.
Weren't you the judge?
I was the judge.
You were the Supreme Court's judge.
I was appointed the judge of our court, which was pretty fun. Also, my class decided to, I think officially we had like, what was it, something like a hair salon, I think, officially. But in actuality, we printed fake money.
You printed lots of fake money.
We printed fake money and ruined the currency.
Anyway, enough school days. Let's talk about school days.
Back to school days. We're going back
to the roof.
The other main characters, Kotonoha and Makoto.
Yes.
They're on the roof. The last we saw, it looked like, she finally put her hand on her heart and said, I'm going to go to him. I'm not going to avoid him any longer. And now we see them just sitting up there kind of awkwardly.
Yeah. Makoto asks Kotonoha if she's still mad about yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about that. It wasn't really a major thing.
Yeah, but also the wording here made me a bit... The reason he's here is because Sekai told him to say sorry to her up there. He does not say sorry. Yeah, he says, are you still mad?
He really doesn't like apologizing.
Yeah.
And her response is no. That she's not, which is strange because I thought she came up to the roof to talk to him about this.
Yeah.
And then I guess she bailed. She lost her nerve.
That does happen with her. That's also a bit later in the episode where she does something similar, I think. But yeah, it feels like Makoto is a bit lost in this too, because he just like, are you still mad, without like clear understanding of what he did wrong? Which is like this whole situation. Sekai told him to say sorry, but he doesn't really know what was the thing that I fucked up here.
But then he asks again. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was good. Mm-hmm. But she doesn't answer him. And he changes the subject. And instead brings up her sister again.
Yeah, that she wanted to meet him. And that he wanted to come over for that. Which Kotonoha basically like says... that would be a bit much right now.
Yeah, because he also specifically says, how about today?
Yeah.
He goes too far.
She's clearly still kind of hurt by this situation. He is moving too fast. She just got to the point where she's meeting him again, and she's immediately like, okay, I want to go over to your house. But she does hand him, like, an olive branch of, how about Sunday? Today is too much for me. How about we meet on Sunday?
So he says that this is okay with him, but he also completely freaks out.
Yeah. Like, he overreacts incredibly in this situation.
And he touches her again. Like, he grabs her hand, which she clearly isn't happy about.
Yeah, she's kind of like, she's making a move back when he does that.
As per the usual.
Yeah, she offers a meeting to him at a bit of a later date, and he immediately takes it too far again. Which, after the last episode, where I thought Sekai is the issue in the situation, this scene is really effective. Like, this scene of Sekai not being there is incredibly effective at showing what the actual issues in their relationship are, which is just they're on completely different wavelengths. He doesn't get her, really, and that's the main thing. Like, he operates on a completely different basis than she does. He's always making her uncomfortable. He's always going a step too far. And, like, while most of the conversation, it seems like he's trying to be as respectful as possible, it really does seem like it's all just because Sekai told him to. Because as soon as he has an option of not talking about what she feels anymore, he jumps out of it and is like, oh, I get to visit you? Oh, cool. What should I wear? He makes it completely about himself again.
So, you want to move on back to the Radish bar?
I'm just, I'm not ready again. I'm not ready yet again to go back to the Radish bar.
Yeah. So how does the scene start?
With an ass shot. I noted that
Technically, it starts with an establishing shot of the Radish bar,
Yes.
followed by an ass shot.
Followed by an ass shot. I specifically wrote down that the physicality of her uniform only makes sense if it's stuck between Sekai's ass cheeks. Because we clearly see the shape of them and like a small bit of the hem standing out at a strong angle. So it must be stuck between her ass cheeks. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense that the uniform is acting with this physicality.
Also,
Just gonna continue on after I said that, huh?
no, I wasn't. Also, shiny legs. I talked about this before.
Yeah, the sausage legs.
So this time, we know for sure that they definitely didn't just come out of the shower. At least, I don't think
That's
she
true,
did.
yeah.
They just have sausage legs.
Maybe she's just very sweaty.
Maybe.
You know? Maybe life is...
We don't know how hot it is.
Maybe the
in there.
uniform is like that because it's extremely hot in the radish bar. Maybe it's just the right heat to boil a radish, whatever that heat is.
It's a radish heat.
Welcome to the radish bar. Ready for the radish heat? But the radish heat doesn't seem to bother Setsuna.
Because Setsuna shows up.
Amazing transition.
Perfect.
Oh, nailed it. Setsuna comes in, doing Setsuna things, like staring at her.
They have a little bit of small talk, but of course Setsuna acts really suspicious.
Yeah. She orders something to eat there real quick and wants to talk to Sekai after she's done.
Yeah, they want to talk after she's done, so she orders... Hang on.
Of course you wrote it down. I only memorized one part of it.
She orders a limited time Shiratama Anmitsu dessert topped with matcha. And to explain what this is, it's a dessert cup filled with agar-agar jelly, fresh fruits, mochi, anko, and green tea ice cream. And to explain what that means...
That actually sounds really good.
Yeah, agar-agar jelly, I looked up what that is. It's a type of jelly made of algae that is occasionally used in Eastern Asian cuisine. And sometimes in other cuisines too as a vegan substitute for gelatin.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, in the EU it is classified as a food additive under the number E406. Now you have that information.
Great. Maybe Setsuna is a vegetarian or a vegan. Maybe we just figured that part out.
Yes, mochis are little balls that are amazing. I love them.
Yeah, you should go to the nearest Asia food store and buy mochis right now. They're incredible.
And what was the last thing?
Here's the part.
Wait, I'm not done.
You're not done with the food?
Yes.
Because I have something important to say about the drink. But you continue on with the food then.
Yeah, there's something about that too. So she also ordered, so there's anko in there. Anko is a red bean paste.
Ah, yeah.
Bean paste.
I assume it's the same stuff that's like in mochi sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really good. It's really good.
Yeah, she also orders iced coffee without sugar.
Which is the thing I memorized. Because that clearly shows that she's a psychopath.
Because who orders iced coffee without sugar?
Iced coffee without sugar is like... Have you ever made yourself a pot of coffee and then just let it hang there for like a day? Do you want to put it in your cup?
Are you curious what bitter tastes like?
Do you want some of that cold bean mush? Maybe it's disgusting. A friend of mine, I have a vivid memory of that. I once went to like a movie night with a friend of mine, and that's the movie night where I for the first time watched The Dark Knight. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, but. he offered us, like, hey, do you want iced coffee? That was before I really started drinking coffee altogether. And his idea of iced coffee was take a cup of water with ice cubes in it and then put instant coffee in there and then just stir it with a spoon. And then just give that to someone. So it was like instant coffee made cold with ice cubes. And someone who would willingly order that is someone I cannot trust. Maybe this is supposed to inform Setsuna's character as like this very, let's say, stoic figure. But she orders this like really nice cup too.
I mean, it's possible that maybe when she says no sugar, she means no real sugar. So maybe there's some kind of substitute in there instead.
Or no additional sugar. Or it's just faulty subtitles again, which also happens at some point.
Who knows? Who knows anyway?
After this incredibly important food ordering, we get to the outside, where after her shift is over, Sekai just goes for a walk with Setsuna.
So Sekai mentions how long they've known each other, which is good information to have. They've known each other for a long time.
Yeah, which also implies that, once again, Setsuna isn't a small child, because then she might not have had the ability to know her for a long time.
We've already assumed that they're probably good friends, because Setsuna seems to worry a lot about Sekai.
Yeah. And Setsuna clearly wants to tell her something, but she's being mysterious again. And Sekai has to sort of like goad the answer out of her. What is she worried about? What is she trying to tell her?
So for the rest of the scene, I simply wrote down, we get the room talk. And that's all I wrote down.
Yeah.
They have this conversation again.
It's like the breast cancer talk in the room. Not the breast cancer. You don't love
I don't
Johnny
love him anymore.
Johnny. I don't love Johnny. You should
He's
love
good
Johnny.
for you. He provides for you. And
honey, you can support yourself. we have this conversation in this show. That conversation is: do you love Makoto?
And she's always like, "What? No, you're silly."
I don't love him. I'm just friends with him. But you do love him, though. We had that conversation again. Setsuna, which was like foreshadowed by the previous conversation, where, as you mentioned, she saw Sekai just sort of looking into the distance, thinking about the school festival. She once again asks her, "Okay, but do you actually love him?" And Sekai once again says, "No, I don't." And by the end of it, Setsuna says, "I understand," with her blank expression, which to me could be read two ways. Either in the way of, okay, I understand, you don't love him, alright. Or in the way of, by your reaction, I understand that you do actually love him, though. You actually do love him, though.
It's hard to read Setsuna.
It's hard to read her.
She has no expression on her face.
She has red eyes, and that's all the expression she gets.
So then we get a very short scene of Makoto in his place. He's basically getting ready to meet up with Kotonoha in her house, meet her family. And he has a little flashback there while he's getting ready in his
conversation we
house.
didn't get to see.
Yeah, and while he's riding on the train. And that one's a little bit strange.
Yeah. I noted something down about that.
I assume it's the same thing.
Just say what you noted down.
So she says for a second, like, apparently, I assume they had this conversation on the phone. Because I don't know when else they would have had it.
Yeah. Maybe after class. I don't know.
She says something like, I have work that day. And that implies that
he asked her to come along again.
Which is, what is wrong with you, Makoto, at this point?
Yeah, I mean, he did the same thing when he wanted to apologize to Kotonoha. But this made more sense to me this time than with that time. Because what the scene on the roof showed is that he has a really hard time talking with Kotonoha if Sekai isn't there. Because he, at this point, partially because of Sekai always telling him he's doing things wrong, I think he just thinks he needs her there to, like, be able to understand what Kotonoha means. I think he's kind of completely lost the confidence in understanding Kotonoha at this point. And to him, Sekai is sort of the thing that makes things always work out. Because what if he hadn't come to apologize to her? I mean, he didn't apologize to her in the end, but what if he hadn't come up there?
So he arrives at Kotonoha's place. He like knocks at the door or rings the doorbell, I don't remember. And Kokoro comes out and refers to him as Oni-chan, which I happen to know means big brother.
Yeah.
I just know
also
that.
The subtitles say that. But yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Kokoro being the little sister of Kotonoha.
Yeah, one of the definitely most important characters.
Yeah.
According to the Google listing, more important than Makoto.
The only female character that doesn't show up in the opening. Thank God. And then that is followed by a small montage.
We get another little clip show. Kotonoha is there. Everyone's having fun. Everyone's just playing around. Though it seems, for the most part, that it seems Makoto and Kokoro are just having fun, are getting along. But Kotonoha doesn't seem happy. Not very happy, at least.
Mm-hmm.
They're enjoying themselves, but Kotonoha, she doesn't seem that happy.
Okay, so you didn't notice this.
I didn't write down any specifics.
I wrote down something specific that I noticed that I thought you might not have caught. So there's one shot in there which kind of like changes how this goes. Like we see all three of them playing together. And then we see a shot of Makoto on his forelegs. He has his hands down and is on his knees. And in his mouth, he has a Pocky, which is like these small chocolate-covered sweets that are pretty much long and kind of shaped like a pencil. You've probably seen a Pocky before. Which he holds in his mouth at one end. And Kotonoha is standing a bit off to the side and looking away in shame. And Kokoro stands between them and looks confused. Which is then followed by Kokoro jumping on Makoto's back and him playing horsey for her. For a few shots. I assume that Makoto was trying to play the Pocky game. The Pocky game is where you have one end of the Pocky in the mouth and another person has the other end of the Pocky in their mouth.
There was the shot directly before that, though.
What was that shot?
The shot was both of them having the thing in both of their mouths.
Yeah, and then she got away from him. I think that is what happened. Like, she chickened out. She didn't want to continue with this.
I saw this, but I didn't think anything about it.
Yeah, so I assumed he sort of started it, and the way the game goes is both of them eat ends of the Pocky until their lips get together, which is also part of, like, Makoto's mission since the start, like, since episode 2. He's trying to get a kiss from Kotonoha. That's what he's been trying since the cinema. Even earlier, if you want to be
But he has gotten
exact.
a kiss.
He has gotten a kiss, but it's not enough for him. Like, he wants this to continue on. He wants things to finally be easy and to get what he wants. Which is something that will be reflected later on in the episode too. So, after this small clip show here, what do we get?
We get Kotonoha. She's making tea for everyone, so everyone's done now, playing around. Makoto comments on how much like energy Kokoro has. And, of course, immediately followed by Kotonoha apologizing for how much energy her sister has.
Kokoro, in general, just seems a lot more like an open person than Kotonoha, who seems kind of like laid back, but Kokoro is very direct. She's also a small girl, though, so maybe you shouldn't think too much into that.
And then we get to the thing I talked about in the last episode, which is that Kokoro is confused about and asks why Makoto refers to Kotonoha by her last name.
Yeah. Which, again, like, is a direct reflection of the earlier scene where Sekai's friends were talking about, hey, you call him by his first name, and he calls you by your first name. How come? How is that? And, yeah, how is that? How come they call each other by the first name? He just doesn't sort of, it seems like he doesn't have an answer for that. They're just sort of sitting there, and it's kind of awkward. That's kind of all there is to it. This is followed, like, this is basically the end of the scene.
Yeah, I have one more thing. There's a white shot visible at the very ending. I don't have an interpretation for it, but I made a screenshot because it kind of looked bad. Just bad.
I know what you mean, because I thought in this scene specifically, something's off here.
No, so...
Yeah.
So the one thing I see is...
First of all, Makoto's eyes are on opposite sides of his head. Like, I noticed that. I
it
noticed
looks like
that too.
a fish. It's like...
And the other thing is, the intersection between his legs and his body.
I just saw that.
His legs are super tiny. It looks so funny. Just the way the shot is framed. Like, his torso is so long in comparison to his legs. It's kind of a weird shot. This show is full of, like, underfunded looking art.
I just saw that he's wearing blue slippers. And everyone else is wearing slippers too, so...
In various colors.
Yeah, but so did she have an additional pair of blue slippers, or did he bring his own slippers?
Maybe he did. I don't know.
Do guests bring their own slippers?
I don't know that much about Japanese visiting culture.
Guests bring their own slippers.
Or you just have a few visitor slippers laying around all the time. I mean, you can't wear your shoes indoors. Just to add to that, because Americans won't understand if they listen to this episode, you also don't wear your shoes indoors in Germany. Here, that also isn't a cool thing.
No, you walk around in socks.
You just walk around on socks. What do you need, like, slippers for?
You're gonna get the gravel everywhere.
Yeah, you can just, just wear... Oh, if your reaction to that is, what is my shoes? Socks get dirty then. Yeah, then change your socks. You should change your socks like every day or every 2 days at least. It's gross.
You can't just throw your shoes in the washing machine.
Yeah, what the fuck are you doing? Okay, after this important slipper scene, we cut to Kotonoha, in my assumption, walking Makoto to the train station. Because she mentioned before that there's like a pretty long way between her house and the train station. Mm-hmm. So she's kind of walking him back there. And they're talking while they do that.
So he's really confused about the fact that she seems to care so much about the name thing.
That her sister seems to care so much about the name thing. Which, by the way, Kotonoha apologizes for.
Of course.
In that scene.
She always apologizes.
Yeah. And he basically says, like, do you actually care about that? And I think her reaction to that is pretty important. Mm-hmm. Because she's, like, abrasive about it.
Yeah. She's like, I do care.
And then immediately, like, goes back to, like, being ashamed of having this outburst.
For like, just a moment showing a glimpse of her personality.
Yeah, like, she clearly cares. It clearly matters to her if he calls her that. But she doesn't want to go further into that. Like, she's a very timid person. But he does the right thing in this situation.
Yeah. So I did want to write down that his immediate reaction is to call her by her last name, which I thought is kind of really shitty.
Yeah, but then he gets around to, he calls her by her first name. And he then comments on how she turned red from that. And then they have a nice little laugh after she says that makes her happy.
Speaking of, I thought this was a good mention to comment. I didn't really notice, but Makoto's laugh is the absolute worst.
Yeah, it's
in
like,
fact, it's like, here's a little montage. It's horrible. I hate it.
It's a pretty bad laugh. It's a pretty bad laugh. And that's the end of that scene, basically. They laugh a bit about it. Then they meet again on the train station. They come to the train station. They're just standing there, like, sort of waiting for the train. They're not talking that much. But Kotonoha talks to him.
So they say goodbye, and then I noticed that there's a small shot of Kotonoha's hands. She's like, what do you call this? She's like, she has
her hands folded.
She's hands folded, and it's like moving them around.
Yeah, like nervously.
Like she's trying to convince herself to do something. Mm-hmm. And then she asks him to close his eyes.
Mm-hmm. Which would be very easy to do. You know, she clearly just wants to do something and told you one thing to do, which is close your eyes. He does that and purses his lips.
Of course, immediately expecting a kiss.
Immediately demanding a kiss from her.
So then she moves towards him. Then we see...
Then she gets hit by the train.
Then a train drives by.
Yeah.
And we don't see what happens. And then we see his face super shocked. And...
She kissed his cheek.
Sorry, when I first watched this episode, I thought I should play that. It was my favorite scene.
Yeah, because like, but it's also like a very important scene. Because he clearly demanded to be kissed on the lips here. He closed his eyes, pursed his lips, and was clearly expecting a kiss. And she kisses his cheek, says goodbye to him, walks off, and he just stands there as the train goes away.
Yeah, he stands there like his brain short-circuited.
Yeah, like he's
super
frozen.
dumbstruck. And another thing is, while we see her kissing his cheek, the train slows down, and you can really hear this. It's like,
Yeah.
I wrote it down as the train sounds very discouraging.
Yeah, and then after she walks away and he keeps standing there, the train drives off again. He missed the train. He's lost all sense of time. He's frozen there.
And we can hear a voice calling, "Please beware of the closing doors. The doors are closing, Mikoto!"
Yeah!
Oh, the doors are closing!
It's like the thing in this situation isn't that she doesn't want him, right? It's not that she's like, you're not gonna get what you want. It's, I'm not ready for it, and I'm willing to assert it. I don't want this right now. I don't want to kiss you on the lips right now. And you're not gonna get it, just because you want it. And that is the assertiveness we so rarely get from Kotonoha. Her, like, actually doing the thing she wants, not the thing she thinks Makoto wants. And I thought that was just amazing.
Mm-hmm. And she seems really happy about it too.
Yeah, and that was a really satisfying end to the episode.
A really satisfying end to the show, School Days.
It was very nice how this episode ended here, and there wasn't another scene after that. Because, man, they could have really, like, they could have done some bad things with that reaction. Mm-hmm. But leaving it vague is very nice.
I mean, the episode, I assume the episode originally just ended there. So in order to fill the episode, they just recycled some footage.
Ah, yeah.
Did you notice?
I didn't notice, but you mentioned it. What exactly was going on there?
So first, I've mentioned this before in the previous episode. We get a shot of Mikoto's house from the outside, and then a shot of Mikoto in his room. And I've compared this to the first scene in the show, and they are completely identical.
Okay, so they just literally reused the footage.
They reused 2 shots, 6 seconds of episode.
Yeah, I mean, nothing else is happening in his room. He's always in his pajamas. He's always just sitting on his bed. You don't have to do new shots. Easy.
He's sitting there in his bedroom. He's on the phone with Sakai. And she tells him that earlier he looked like he was about to cry and asked what's wrong. Which made me question, when did he look like he was...
Did they meet in between?
Did she look through the phone? Did she see him through the phone? He looked like he was about to cry.
I don't think this universe has video call technology yet.
I think she has a telescope in her house.
She just lives right next to him. No, she doesn't. Her train comes from the other direction. She can't live next to him. This is established lore. I'm sorry for being so foolish.
So they just met somewhere, I guess.
Yeah, and she says, like, at the start of it, so things went well, in the way that, like, he was explaining just now what's happening in this whole situation. And then he says it didn't feel like anything at all, like, nothing much had happened, which is what she follows then with that. But you looked like you were crying and all that. And she tells him in the situation that, hey, this is a good thing. The relationship is finally getting going. You're finally
it's
at
good.
the point now
just
where
keep
things
it
are
going.
starting up. And he says, like, questioningly, going is, in a way, like, are things getting going? Then he lays down on his back, on his bed, with the phone in hand. Mm-hmm. And he says, hey, Sakai. And she says, like, yeah, what? And then he says a very important line.
The most important line yet.
The most important line yet, and one that is going to change the entire show from this point on. Because up to this point, like, this episode actually made me think, you know what? There's a solid romance story in this. Like a story about 2 people who kind of have to learn to get along with each other. Like, they work differently, and she's clearly a lot more eager than him. But he can learn to respect her and to respect, like, who she is as a person. This is not a love story with perfect people, but it's a love story that I'd actually be kind of interested in seeing. Mm-hmm. And we've seen there's some good writing here. There's some, like, subtle character writing here in how these people perceive relationships. That feels like it was written by people who actually care. Who, like, actually know how to write a love story. But then he says a certain line, which I've written down here. Mm-hmm. Not the Japanese version of it, but the English translation of the dub we were using. Mm. And he says to Sekai on the phone, "I'm kind of getting tired of spending time with Kotonoha."
And that's how the episode ends. Wow. So any kind of confidence that I've built up for him just vanishes immediately.
Yeah.
It's like she goes up to the roof to talk to him. She tells him her opinion, and she kisses him on the cheek. And he immediately decides, I don't want this anymore.
Yeah.
She shows any kind of personality of her own. I would have to show any kind of commitment. I'm not interested.
Yeah, he's like... He's this epitome of a shitty high school boyfriend. He doesn't actually care about her. He just wants to get the kiss. He just wants to get what he wants. Everything he did before that made me think like, hey, maybe he gets her. Maybe he's being respectful right now because he respects her as a person, is in this moment revealed as he did it to get, not in her pants, but to get the kiss.
Maybe
later to get in the pants. Because, like, as soon as she takes a tiny step back away from him, shows any kind of concern, any kind of want, he immediately expects the reward.
Oh my god. I just kind of realized how much more show there is. This is gonna get so much worse.
Yeah, it's so frustrating. This guy is so frustrating. And we hope you enjoyed the first 3 episodes of this show, because it's all downhill from here. Maybe, like, we talked about at the start of the show, about this being, at least to me, to you probably too, the worst anime ever. Something I passionately hate. And these 3 episodes, especially this one, actually made me think, you know what? Why do I hate this? Like, there is good stuff in there. There is stuff in there that's fun to talk about and fun to think about and that's well written. It's because we've only gotten to this point so far.
Yeah, there's so much more.
The bad shit is coming. And we'll get to it.
Okay.
And we'll get through it. Mm. And we'll analyze it in the same way that we've analyzed everything else so far. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna be tough. But we'll get there. We'll get there soon. In 2 weeks' time, when we get into the 4th episode, where shit starts rotten, and then to the 5th episode, which is...
I only specifically remember the 5th episode.
I remember things about the 4th episode, and it starts really going to shit there.
Okay.
And then we'll get through the rest of it. With you, hopefully listening.
To you in the future, listening.
To you in the future, after society has collapsed.
To you in 1,000 years.
After society has collapsed and School Days is the only anime left.
That's a sad world to live in.
That's a sad world to live in, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
What?
Because that would really, like, raise listenership to our podcast.
Yeah, but School Days is the only media that's left.
Not the only media, I said the only anime. I'm fine giving up every other anime for our show to be popular.
Wow. Okay, the outro. The outro. It's again, the song and the images on the phone are different in every episode. Mm-hmm. In the first episode, we had 4 images shown in a row. In the second, there were 5. Mm-hmm. So naturally, in this one, there's 9.
Ah, yeah.
There's a lot of images, actually.
Maybe it's just because the song is longer. And they're like,
no, it's not. It's not. The images are just shown for shorter amounts of time.
Okay.
They just wanted to cram more images in there.
Okay, what do we get?
We get first Kokoro, then Kotonoha, then Hikari, then Nanami, who had a very major role in this. That's Boy. Mm-hmm. She had a very major role in this episode. She said like 2 sentences.
She said a few sentences, and she was there.
Then Kato, Or Regina George. We know the name now.
Yeah.
We did the last time.
We did the last time. Absolutely. I said it.
Regina George.
Didn't you listen? I said it.
And then an image of Squad. All three of them on one image. Then Setsuna. And the most important, Sekai in her radish uniform.
Oh. Yeah, I missed that. I didn't see her in the radish uniform in there.
And then Sekai and Kotonoha in an image. That's the last one.
I think we had that in an early episode too, like having a shared image between the two of them at the end. Or like in every episode, I think we've had a shared image of the two of them at the end.
In the last episode, I wrote down all the lyrics, but I thought I'm not interested at all in them.
Yeah.
I wrote them down again. I'm even less interested this time.
Oh, okay. What are they?
They're just weird. It looks like a very weird translation. Do you want to read them out?
Okay, I'm gonna try it. The leisurely swirling gusts of wind shine but a moment. I get what you mean with a weird translation. In this unforgettable memory of the time we gazed at each other. The tightly raveled pain is our twining fingertips. Where should I turn? Hold me gently, please, in this frozen moment of time. Where should I turn this cry of emotion that can't be expressed in words? Where does this ceaseless sadness come from? Tell me. Into the spreading... This is nothing. This is absolutely nothing. There's nothing here.
Maybe if you take like the first letter of every word and rearrange the order, there's a secret message in there.
Okay, if we take the first three lines, the first letters are tit.
Of course, it's school days.
Of course. It all makes sense. And then it's HWWI. Tit. So let's remember for the next episode, because we have to put all of them together at the end. We now have tit. And let's see what we get in the next one. So all of it makes sense at the end.
All right.
I'm sure we'll get there. That was School Days episode 3.
Oh, yeah.
Only goes down here from here. Only down there from here.
down here.
It only goes down
here.
Baby,
there.
It goes near, far, wherever you are.
This is the end.
It goes down. This is the end. Bye.
Have fun. Stay home.
Have fun. Stay home. Don't leave the house. Wash your hands 5 times every day and stay like 6 feet away from everybody else. If they can cough at you and you feel the droplets, you're too close. And also wash your hands immediately. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Don't die. Good night.
Good night. Deb. YOLO.
Dab.
Hashtag.
Slay Queen. Bye-bye.